24 #1 hits over 33 years, from I Want to Hold Your Hand in 1963 to Elton John's Candle in the Wind. Please welcome the fifth Beatle, Sir George Martin.
Well, it's so nice to be with you.
Oh, it's
Thank
so
you very
nice
much.
to have you. Thanks for being here. How awesome a life have you had? You were producing records for like Peter Sellers, right?
Yep.
And then somebody brought the Beatles to you?
Well, this is a long time ago. I've been sort of making records now for nearly 50 years.
Wow.
And I guess I was running Parlophone, which was a small label in England. And I've been doing this for about 12 years. In 1962, Brian Epstein walked into my office with a record of this group called the Beatles, which I thought was such a stupid name. You know, so corny with an A.
Yeah, with an A.
And they weren't very good. It was a funny kind of sound. And I thought, well, you know, if you want me to judge it on this, forget it. I said, but if you bring them down to the studios and I'll have a look at them, see what happens. I was very blasé about it.
Uh-huh.
And they came in, and they came into the studios, and it was like electricity. You know, they had this wonderful atmosphere. They had tremendous charisma. They had no great songs with them, but they gave you the feeling that you felt so good for being with them. Mm-hmm. And when they left, you felt as though something had gone away, you know. I thought, well, if they had this effect on me, they're going to have an effect on everybody else. So I signed them, simple as that.
It's amazing. Nobody else, I heard that nobody else liked them either.
No, that's right. They've been turned down by every other record company in the country. And when Brian was given my name, he didn't really know much about me. And he said, well, what does George Martin do? He said, well, he makes comedy records. So he then knew he'd hit rock bottom.
And so, well, how about when they came over here and they were on Ed Sullivan, and all of us at home immediately knew that they were like the greatest thing we'd ever heard.
I always joke about them, saying they, you know, success never changed them. They always were arrogant little devils. It's true, because they were very cheeky. The first time, on the very first session, I brought them into the control room because it was a strange sound, and I wasn't quite sure if we were getting the balance right. So I said, come here and have a listen to it. Now,
Did you think it was strange because it sounded American?
Yeah, well, it was raucous. I mean, up to that time, most of our records have been things like Tommy Steele or Cliff Richard, were kind of fairly anemic versions of Elvis Presley.
Right.
And suddenly we had 4 kids and 3 of them singing together, you know, which wasn't heard of before. So I said, come and have a listen and see what you think. And if there's anything you don't like, tell me. George Harrison looked at me and said, don't like your tie for a start. The other ones clobbered him, you know, saying, hey, wait a minute, you might blow it. Careful, you know.
Did they all get along with each other?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Until when?
Well, pretty well.
Wasn't there some point where they were like all mad at each other?
The bad bit was Let It Be, when John was going through a very strange time, and everybody wanted to pull apart. And I thought that was the end of everything. I really did. I was very unhappy. I wasn't allowed to produce like I normally do. And so it was a miserable time, really. But after that, they came back and said, we want you to come back and do another record. And I said, no.
Wow.
And I said, you know, I don't want to go through that again, thank you. and they said, no, we really mean for you to come back and produce it like you used to produce. And we went back into the studio and we made Abbey Road. And Abbey Road was a very happy album. Everybody pulled together. Everybody, even John, who didn't like the idea of the long kind of orchestral bit that Paul and I were working on, even he contributed to it and he made some great songs. And it was I guess we kind of knew it was our last album. Nobody said that, but there was a kind of poignancy about it.
Why was that? Was that because they just felt pulled in different artistic directions?
Well,
or as well as personal?
They've been living in each other's pockets for nearly a decade.
Right, you get tired.
And they wanted to have their own lives. You know, it was a huge goldfish bowl. Now, you know what it's like to be a real celebrity. And these guys, wherever they went in the world, it was just impossible for them. They couldn't lead a normal life.
Right. They needed to get some safety and some privacy and some quiet.
And of course, their differences were exaggerated, you know, and they really loved each other very much. They used to fight each other like siblings more than anything else.
Yeah.
That's really what it was.
So sad to think that we'll never see them again.
Well, I think what we should say is really, wasn't it great that we did see them?
Yes, we should say that.
Be thankful
We
for
should
what we
say
did.
that. And now, as I understand it, you want to end your career, not fade away, which is like Buddy Holly, not fade away.
Well, this is an album, my final album. I'm not making any more records. This is the very last time I will go into a studio to produce anything. The reason being that, you know, I'm pretty ancient now, and I know that I'm not as good as I used to be.
Well, how old are you?
I'm nearly 73. I'm 72.
Wow. But look at Larry King. He's only 8 years younger than you, and he's having a baby.
Well, it's possible, you know. Give me a chance.
So this is your baby.
This is one of my babies.
It's awesome. You put together like people singing Beatles songs,
Yeah.
like Robin Williams and Bobby McFerrin, and Goldie Hawn singing A Hard Day's Night, Jeff Beck, Celine Dion, Jim Carrey. That's unusual.
Well, they're all unusual. I decided to make an album with my friends. A lot of them like Jeff Beck and Phil Collins and John Williams, who's a classical guitar player.
Right.
And they said, yeah, we'd love to come and do a track. And then I thought, well, why not make an album with my heroes as well? Some people that I'd always admired. Robin Williams, I've always admired enormously.
Yeah.
And I rang him up and said, you know, how about it? He said, well, radical thought. He'd never done it. So it was
How
a kind
does
of
he sound as a singer on there?
Great.
I think we have some clip. Well, we'll go to commercial and we'll come right back and then we'll show that. So hang on. We'll be back with George Martin. Sir, George Martin.
And if he's beside me, I know I need never care. But to love him is to need him everywhere.
They are the Eggman. I am the Walrus.
He sounded great.
He's terrific. He's terrific. And
I didn't know he could sing. It's good.
well, a lot of people are going to be surprised when they hear this record.
Who surprised you the most?
Well, I had quite a few surprises, but when Jim Carrey did that, and I asked him, I really wanted to do I'm the Walrus. It was one of my favorite songs. And when he came along and did it, I kind of thought, well, at least he can get his tongue around those very difficult lyrics.
Right.
But he sang so well and injected his own brand of humor into it. It was quite a revelation. My daughter Lucy was a great fan of the Bay City Rollers. And one day she came home and said, Daddy, there's a group called the Beatles. You've been recording, is that right? I said, yes, that's right. She said, were they popular? Were they big? I said, yeah, they were pretty big.
Oh, my God.
And then she said, but they weren't as big as the Bay City Rollers, were they? Yeah, she found out for herself. And they all do. It comes round.
It does.
And I think we'll still be hearing this music in 2050.
I think we will, too. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I want to thank all my guests today and the audience and you at home. That is all for today's show.